Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Swindon series. Once known as the railway capital of the world, Swindon lies within the county of Wiltshire. There are 20 parishes here. Let's see which one we're in today. Welcome folks to Wiltshire for the very first time. We are starting a lot of new counties on this trip, aren't we? It's good, it's good.
It's very good.
Exposure for the channel, shall we just say that?
It's been really nice as well to actually come into new districts and new places, even for me. Not even my flipping channel.
So this is Wiltshire and this is part of Swindon. Welcome to the Swindon series. And the first one that I'm going to take you around here is a very small village, but it has something rather large to its western side. Welcome to South Marston. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome everyone to Swindon. Our first foray into Wiltshire sees us take on South Marston, a village which lies about 3 miles northeast of Swindon town centre. It's a small place, but everyone locally will know this village thanks to what's located to its western side. We'll get to that shortly. First of all, South Marston became a civil parish in 1894. Ecclesiastically, it was a chapelry of Highworth until it was separated from that in 1889. The name Marston is quite common. It derives from Old English and it means marsh farm. This suggests that the village was founded before the Norman Conquest, but despite that, the village is not recorded in the Domesday Book. Its earliest documentary evidence dates from about 1280, where it's mentioned as part of Highworth Hundred. One of the most notable people to come from the village is the poet Alfred Williams, who was born here and died here too in 1930. There are two buildings we'll see which are related to him. Both during and after World War II, there was a factory here at which several companies, including Vickers Armstrong Supermarine, made different types of aircraft. Now, if you drive a Honda, the chances are it's been driven within the boundaries of this very parish. They took over the factory site in 1985, using the former runways to test their vehicles. It's got more than meets the eye, this one. Let's get walking. We start with a short drive from the Sainsbury's store where we ended the parish of Bourton in the Vale of White Horse. It falls within South Marston's boundaries despite being known as Swindon's Stratton store. The area we're driving through here is to the south and west of the main village, and it's mostly industrial. It's always been industrial ever since the country was at war. During World War II, Vickers Armstrong created a massive aeroplane manufacturing plant here at South Marston, which covered what is now Thornhill Industrial Estate and South Marston Park Industrial Estate. Spitfire production was moved here from Southampton after bombing destroyed the main South Coast facility in 1940. The planes were constructed and tested here before being flown to bases all over the world. In total, 121 Spitfires were built at South Marston, with a further 50 modified Spitfires bound for naval action. There's more on those later, but for now, let's head into the village.
It's made of metal anyway.
We start at South Marston's War Memorial. This sits in a little garden opposite the village's primary school. The garden has some other landmarks in it. This rock commemorates the Golden Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II. There's also an RAF related mention here as well, echoing South Marston's history with aircraft. Now we're heading up a path which will take us to South Marston's church, dedicated to St Mary Magdalene. This was built in the 11th century. The churchyard's lit gate is another memorial. This is in memory of the Reverend William Percival Pring, who was the vicar of South Marston between 1934 and 1947. Here's something unusual. The cremation stones here are all mounted on the churchyard walls. I don't think we've ever seen that before. Speaking of walls, the nave of St Mary still has its original walls, and if you want to know when other things were added, well, all you have to do is take a look in the porch. Okay, so this church is open, we're about to go in. Now in the porch, there's an interesting little map. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this ever before. This shows a plan of the church and the approximate dates of various bits of it. So for example, the tower is from 1420, the font from 1140, the nave also 1140, the Lady Chapel is 1885, the porch was stood in 1440. Chancel is 1240 and the vestry is 1885, so you can see which bits have been added when and which bits are the oldest part. So let's take a wander inside and see these bits in the flesh, as it were. Do we have lights? Yeah. Oh, we have lights, good. Right.
We have some light.
Some light.
It's not full of it.
No, well it's fine, it's fine. Right, let's take a wander to the back first. Here's that font. So this was from
the tower.
1140. Yeah. There's the tower, yeah. 1420, did the thing say? Yeah, I think it did. So it's obviously an addition to what was already here. Let's go this way.
Lovely small house.
That there is. Let's go to the other end.
Another door through there.
Where? Is that not blocked up?
Yeah, it's another Norman door. He said so on that plan.
Ah, right, okay. So there would have been an entrance through there originally. Let's go into the chancel. There's no lights in the chancel, but hopefully the camera can still pick this up. Some more stained glass here. There's one of St Peter there, and St John and St James on the other side. That's St John, and that's St James. And then we've got this big magnificent window above the altar. Lots of stained glass here. Again, tiled floors. I've seen quite a lot of those just lately.
That's the Lady Chapel.
This is the Lady Chapel, added in 1885.
Here lies the body of Charity, wife of Andre, the Duke of Bulford, Esquire, who departed this life 28th of July 1719. So is that who the Lady Chapel's named for?
Possibly, could well be. All in all, nice little church this.
Yeah, it's a cracking little place.
Right, let's move on and see what ame we can find in South Marston. Okay, so here's the war grave in this churchyard. Do you want to read it out? Do you want to read it out, Nikki?
Yeah, so we've got 6563S, or 65638, I beg your pardon. Bombardier P.J. Cheesley, Royal Field Artillery, 23rd of August 1916, aged 23.
Okie doke.
All on his own, under a tree.
He's got the pick of the churchyard, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Chapel Lane now, and here's the former chapel it's named for. This was a Wesleyan chapel, which was built sometime before 1900. It was restored in 2017. Next are two buildings close together which have links to Alfred Williams, the poet, writer and steam hammer operator at Swindon Railway Works. This house on the corner of Chapel Lane is one of them. The blue plaque on the wall tells us that he once lived in this very property. We'll see the other one shortly. Between the two, there's a parish notice board. New people, when I find these, I leave a card marking that I've visited. 1 down, 19 to go in Swindon. Another Alfred, Alfred Bell, was lord of the manor in the mid-1800s. The Bell family would pay for and build a schoolhouse for the village in 1873, and it's now the village hall. And here we have the second building relating to Alfred Williams. This is Cambria Cottage, where he was born in 1877. So South Marston is a peaceful little village, but at the moment it's being rather blighted by some noise pollution from a set of roadworks here, and this road is closed. It's access only, so people can obviously get in and out of side streets such as this one. Anyway, we're not going to go too far up here because my route is to turn round at the Carrier's Arms, which is one of the pubs in this part of Swindon. I think this is the only one in South Marston, so we'll have a little bit of a chat about this and then we'll head back the other way. Is it? The Carrier's Arms is the only pub in the main village, but there's also a second pub called the Carpenter's Arms on the road towards the A420. Now, unless you count the Sainsbury's store, South Marston doesn't have any shops, nor does it have a post office. This house here, though, used to be the latter. We're now heading towards St Julian's Community Woodland, a small broadleaf wood which was officially opened in September 2011. It forms part of a local nature reserve. To get to it, we have to walk through Orchard Meadow, which can be found at the top of a street called the Orchard. The wood is planted with a mixture of trees including oak, ash, wild cherry and hawthorn. If you come at dusk, you might see bats hunting for their insect prey and hear the rustle of fox and roe deer. Oh, and also up here there's a balancing lagoon. South Marston is seemingly short of a few water features, so I guess this is as good as you're going to get here. Well, let's ask the viewers. We've just sat on this bench here at Orchard Meadow, and there's a plaque on it, which is obviously some kind of saying. Nothing matters very much, and few things matter at all. Isabel and Gordon Hone. Now, I think that's quite defeatist, quite frankly.
I think it's about sweating the small stuff.
You reckon? Yeah. Well,
what do you guys think?
now for the walk back, and this will once again take us along Thornhill Road. This is residential for the most part, and off it there's a series of cul-de-sacs. Since the mid-1980s, South Marston has attracted a lot of new housing development, and the population now includes industrial workers and commuting professionals. A large residential development was built on the site of the village's former manor house in the mid-1980s. This kind of thing will be a recurring theme in Swindon. The town in general has been undergoing substantial growth in the last 40 years, thanks in part to it being handily located next to major transport routes. South Marston's proximity to Swindon has resulted in new developments at not just Manor Park, but also at streets like Rawlings Close, Yew Tree Gardens and Bell Gardens. It's a good thing then that the village can hold its own when it comes to sports and recreational facilities. This is the playing field, located just off Thornhill Road. And while we're here in the park, I can tell you about a few other things as well. For a start, we've got South Marston's primary school, which overlooks this park. Now, we actually walked past the main entrance to this earlier, but there were a load of children in the playground, so I couldn't really film it at that point. Well, this is the back of it. You see, it's got a nice little turret just there with a spire on and a weather vane. Looks quite nice at on the front bit, I must admit. It doesn't look quite the same from the back, but like I said, I couldn't really film it from that way on. And also, if you look this way, you'll see a whole host of new properties. There's new houses going up here in South Marston, and I don't know whether they've completed them or not, but they are fairly new. So yeah, it's a growing village as well. So from here, all we need to do is follow this footpath which Nikki is on, and it sort of bends around the school and takes us back towards where the car is, and that's the main walking route done around South Marston. However, we are not done with this, because there are a few other things around South Marston, which are all linked together. And the first of those is a massive solar farm. Let's go and find that next. So if you come up Nightingale Lane, you will find this solar farm. Now, I can promise you that this solar farm is absolutely huge. This is just the entrance to it. It goes for ages, all the way over there. And if you look on the map, you'll be amazed how much ground this covers. So with this many solar panels, it must generate quite a lot of electricity, and it does. But what exactly is it powering, you may ask? Well, to answer that, here comes today's special section. The solar panels were powering the UK's one and only Honda plant. In 1985, the Japanese car manufacturer bought a large part of the former Vickers Armstrong aircraft factory site. It was so big that it straddled the boundary with Stratton St Margaret. It employed around 3,500 people, but it closed in 2021. Honda would use the former runways at the factory to test drive all their vehicles. If you drive a Honda, the chances are at some point your car has been here. Of course, this area already had a history of producing vehicles. Supermarine aircraft including Spitfire, Seafire, Attacker, Swift and Scimitar were all made here. The Supermarine name lives on today. Sports teams at the Vickers Armstrong Works included a football team and a rugby team who continue under altered names today: Swindon Supermarine FC and Supermarine Rugby Football Club. Since the 1980s, they've shared facilities at Hunts Copse, just to the north of South Marston. And here there is a board which tells you all about the farm. It's called Siva Farm. And as you can see, it came into operation in July 2014 and took 7 months to build. It can generate 10.3 megawatts of electricity, which is the equivalent energy needs of approximately 3,100 households every year. And of course, it was built to supply the Honda plant. And there you go. That is Siva Farm. Massive, massive, massive solar farm. It's amazing how big it is. And that's the end of the South Marston episode. This wasn't supposed to be the end, actually, because I was meant to go up to Swindon Supermarine Football Club to finish this one off, because obviously it links to the old RAF base and the old, well, the factory that made the planes. But of course, the road is closed, which means I can't do that. So that's a bit of a shame. It's not actually within South Marston's boundaries anyway, it's just over the border into the one to the north. So, you know, I do have another chance to catch that at a later date. And that won't be the next episode, and it won't be on this trip. I'll be coming back to Swindon at some point in the future, but as far as this trip goes, I'm heading to another one in Swindon, which is not too far away from here, but it's not the one that has Swindon Supermarine Football Club in it. For now, this has been the parish of South Marston, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.